Hey, what up? It's Guido. So, Lake of Kalandra League. As you probably noticed already, there's a lot of negativity and confusion and unhappiness, frustration from the players on this league. So I just want to talk through the main points that people are unhappy about, and I want to clear some things out here. And at the end, I actually also wanted to mention some things or reasons what I like about this league, and maybe some reasons why you should like the league too, right? And I've put this together from different perspectives and put together different points. And so let's start with, I think, the most important point here, which is the top 1% players, right? Because those people have been hit probably the most of all. And when I say top 1%, what I mean is people who buy things that juice the maps, to juice maps on to have max efficiency, right? People who buy scarabs, sextants, use delirium modes, make a strong character, magic find, group play, all of that stuff. Like, these people are hit the most, right? And I think the thing that needs to be cleared out about this group of players here is that they have the most influence on other people, right? Because other people play trade. These are usually some kind of streamers. They're usually players who post on Reddit detailed posts or whatever, right? These people have the most influence on the game, right? Since these people have been hit the most, they're unhappy the most, I think they have influenced a lot of people into thinking that, oh yeah, actually everything's bad. Like, look at them. They're doing bad. It means that I'm doing bad. Which is not the case. And that's what I'm frustrated about. Like, it's not the case. They are nerfed, yeah. But if you're not a player who invests a lot of currency into maps, like, you have no problem. I'm sorry, you don't have a problem of juice. So let's take a look at some of the posts that GGE has put out. I'm just gonna show you like that there's absolutely no difference. So here you can see the announcement from Chris, where he mentions exactly this: that players have been saying your dues drops by 90%, but in reality the type of difference could be only true for most extreme situations. Evolve beyond delirium, encourage stacked with quantity, rarity, sextants, scarabs, and dedicated magic find color, right? This is the only case where people are getting nerfed. Please understand that. And as I found also another post here where someone's like, oh, you can hire an AI engineer to develop AI that runs whatever, right? And so what they found out is that in the most recent test of 1000 maps run, for example, we found average player finds 50% more unique items and 3.3% less currency compared to last league without any sentinels activated, right? So for average player, like, there's like literally no difference. 3% less currency and 51% more uniques, right? More than anything, if you're not juicing your map, you should be happy because you're getting 50% more unique items, right? Because I do believe that that's where most of a lot of the unique items came from, right? Because like I've watched a stream where you can see like one map and they just got shit ton of like very high quality unique items, right? So that's where a lot of them came from. Now the power is you to the player. So, and I guess the last point I want to mention about the top 1% juicers is that I do believe that if juicing was not worth at the league start, it doesn't mean that in the future it's not gonna be worth it. It was just overpriced, because like my estimate is that like since no one knew that this has been nerfed, which was a problem, of course, like the prices were all the juices overpriced because people looked at the last league, right? But if it's not worth it, no one's gonna pay the price, so it's all gonna drop in price, things gonna change, and the market will adjust. So, and let's continue about the second group of players, right? You're like, okay, they're on trade league, people juice maps, but what about solo cell phone players? They were also unhappy, right? But like, here's the difference. Like, solo cell phone players, they were not unhappy about juicing, because like in solo cell phone you can't really juice. You can juice for the short period of time when you stack up some of the ingredients, so to say, but you're gonna quickly run out, and in reality, in order to sustain that, you have to like get that from other players, right? Like, take other players' opportunity away to do that, basically. But why are they unhappy? The reality is that solo cell phone players were happy about the crafting errors, because that's what you do. If you play a solo cell phone, you love crafting usually, and you want to make good gear, And with this league, it was double nerfed, right? So first of all, like the obvious nerf is the harvest nerf, right? So last league, there were crafts more likely, which this league was nerfed. Like it's to a point where I've heard some people mention that's unusable. Like reforged rare item, likely to keep the same modifiers, right? It's something like that, right? So it's nerfed to being almost unusable, right? We got less seeds, and the nerf was reforged rare item keeping prefixes or keeping suffixes. This is like probably the biggest nerf of this, because like you can't finish item anymore. Usually, or like the standard way of crafting good items in solo cell phone was to craft good prefixes or craft good suffixes, and then finish the prefixes or suffixes with suffixes cannot be changed, and then like roll something, right? And then when you get something good, you keep it, or you don't get it, you just do it again, right? But now it's impossible, or it's very risky, because if you get 6 modifiers on the item rerolling like that, you are screwed. You have to annul the item, which is like 50% chance to break the item. So it's very risky. So harvesters, number 1. Second nerf that a lot of people I don't think notice is the recombination nerfs. Like last league, because we unconsciously we compare ourselves to how was it previously. We compare this league to how it was before, right? And before last league we had recombinators, right? And that was also absolutely nuts. Those the amount of recombinations we had available was, I think, was super overpowered, right? The recombinations were super powerful, right? So not only we solo cell phone players got harvest nerfs, we also got recombination nerfs, right? So it's like a double nerf, and now like it's very confusing. I also play solo cell phone, and honestly, I haven't figured out how to craft yet. Like, very nice. I'm confused. I'm like, I make mistakes. I notice that I like, oh, shouldn't be using on that, or should be using that. It's very confusing, and it's not as straightforward. Usually, before that, you got harvest, put in item, you just click until you get something good, and then you kind of finish. That was your crafting, basically, right? So, and please understand the difference. Like, these solo cell phone players, they're different about something else. They're not unhappy about the currency or juicing because they're not doing it. They're unhappy about the crafting. But what do a lot of people do? They look at a trade streamer, he says currency sucks. They look at the solo cell phone player, they say that crafting sucks and everything sucks, right? Which is not the case. It's not the place. If you're not crafting and if you're not juicing the maps, nothing has changed for you. And let's talk about people who don't play solo cell phone or don't juice their maps. Like, how are they unhappy? Like, what's the frustration they're experiencing? And like last league we had recombinators. Last league we also had Sentinel. In my opinion, Sentinel was the most rewarding league mechanic ever. Like, it was just ridiculous how much loot. You just press one button and just your screen explodes with loot, and you can do it 2 times per map because you can get, like, usually you efficiently use 2 Sentinels. It was easy to set up. You just run maps, collect rear, identify, and pick the good ones, and that's it. Like, we just like a ridiculous amount of loot without any time investment or anything, because you're doing the same thing, killing the same monsters, you click and they just get more loot. It was absolutely nuts, right? So the first nerf for all the players is that they're just getting less currency and less loot in general because there's no more Sentinel compared to last league, right? But there's another difference that, like, for people who don't juice maps or don't play solo cell phone, there's another big difference, which is the league mechanic, right? And I'm not necessarily saying the league mechanic is like terrible, useless. The thing about this league mechanic though is that I feel like it's more tended towards end game. It's not the league mechanic that you're like, oh, I'm playing the game, oh, I'm gonna do this thing really quickly and get considerable amount of loot, right? The way Sentinel Lake of Kalandra works is that you have to set up high difficulty rooms, and then from those high difficulty rooms you're gonna get significant amount of loot. And the low difficulty rooms, they're like kind of not really worth your time. You might as well just do mapping, right? And But the thing about the high difficulty rooms is that you need a strong character to do that. You need damage, survivability if you don't want to die. So it's more tended towards endgame characters, right? So if you're just starting off the league and just want to make some currency, you need some currency. Lake of Kalandra is not really for you. Like, it's when you have a stronger character that the content you're doing and you're really strong, you can pop in and do like high difficulty, right? And that being said, you can still do the high difficulty, but you have to keep in mind you're probably gonna die. It's not gonna be as efficient because like from levels 1 to 5, when I was testing Lake of Kalandra, I didn't feel like it's like worth my time. Then from 5 to 10, it was like, yeah, okay, I'm getting salute. It's probably worth my time spending here. And just like a rough estimate is that after 10, it becomes like, oh no, this is nice. I wanna be here, right? So you have to have strong characters. So we lost a league mechanic, or for this league, we don't have a mechanic that is good for giving general currency or loot while we're starting off playing, right? So we don't have this kind of mechanic. So that also affected the nerfs, right? So these are like specifically with players who don't juice or play solo self-on. Let's talk about two other points that made me frustrated as well, and I was unhappy about, and I'm kind of still am, I guess, about one. So the first point is Archnemesis, and I think we can all agree that the monsters were too tanky and too frustrating to kill. And simply put, GGG agreed and they fixed it, and that's about it. Like, Archnemesis is fine. I was playing last night and it was fine. I didn't really get that frustrated. Although I still don't like the fact that there are some modifiers that counter my build. I think that's I'm still a little bit frustrated about that. I don't think that makes sense because like the main concept of the game is that the more challenge, the more loot, or the more reward, right? Challenge, reward. You're kind of trying to balance these two things. That's the main idea of the just the game in general, the philosophy, right? But with Archnemesis modifiers that counter my specific build, this doesn't really add up. That some monsters, they add more difficulty for my specific build, but they don't give more loot. Like, it's just kind of mismatch of philosophies. For example, if I'm running up to an essence monster, it has a lot of essences and a modifier that counters my build. I'm like, oh fuck, now I have to make a decision. Am I gonna be frustrated for whatever 10 to 30 seconds or minute, whatever, trying to kill this monster and being like, oh, I could be doing something better and getting the same loot or more loot, or I'm gonna skip that essence monster, be like, okay, now I'm gonna waste too much time on this, I have to skip that monster, right? And then I'm gonna feel bad because I lost the loot because it just had this stupid one modifier, right? That mechanic doesn't really make sense to me. And I'm not talk about the magic find culling or like the third-party programs that's being solved and worked on right now. It's obviously an issue. There's really nothing to talk about, just needs to be solved. That's about it, right? The other point I wanted to talk about is the changes with divines and exalted orbs with the meta crafting, right? And what I'm frustrated right now, or I think doesn't make sense right now, is that there's never really a point where using divine orb on an item would be justified. Like, the opportunity cost for divine orb is just way too high right now. I could, instead of using divines on my items, I could be saving them up and keeping for a new build, or you probably could be selling your items on trade. And like, the only really justifiable way of using a divine orb on an item is just using for a mirrored item because someone wants to mirror it. I don't really see, or someone is just Chad and is like, I don't give a fuck about like divines, I'm just like using it. It's just, there's not really a good place. Yeah, this is a good efficient way to use divines. I don't feel there's any part on that in the game at all. And another like big downside on divines is that there is no alternative, right? Because for the exalted orbs we had last league, right? Okay, we used them for metacrafting, but we had alternatives to use to exalt items. Usually every league I set up my syndicate board so that I have Leo maxed out, and I'm just slamming all my items with Leo, right? Usually at the end of my crafting or finishing my character, right? I usually slam everything with Leo. I had option to that. There are options to harvest. You can augment item with harvest, right? And there were Eldritch orbs, like Eldritch exalted orbs, and like doing Scourge League, we had Scourge exalted orbs, right? We had options, other options, ways to exalt items. Right now, there's absolutely nothing we can do if you want to divine item except use divine orbs. And to be fair, and they also took it away from harvest, and that was kind of, I think, very sad that they actually took it also away from harvest. So there's 0 ways to divide items literally this game. And I'm guessing, maybe some of you can comment who play trade, that I'm guessing that in Trade League there's also frustration from players because they're confused about just the market in general, or some people didn't maybe hear about the divine changes, they're selling different prices, they're getting scammed, or they don't know how to price their items. Probably there's a lot of frustration about this on trade as well, my guess, right? I hope this clears some things out about why everyone's frustrated, and I hope that makes you understand that everything's not that bad. Like, I'm still having fun this league. I played the first week and I had a lot of fun. It was good league. I didn't understand what I was hearing, some negativity. I'm like, what's going on? Why is everyone frustrated? I honestly didn't understand really. And one of the biggest reasons I didn't understand is because I just turned off all the negativity. There was just so much shit everywhere. I just stopped watching the streamers, stopped going to Reddit, whatever. I just turned everything off. I just played the game. And I had good time, and I would recommend for you to do as well, right? And so why I liked actually this game, and why I like this league, right? The number one reason I like this league is because there's a lot of diversity. I really like playing diversity and doing different kind of content, and I like feeling good about it, right? This league, I went to heist and it felt good. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to heist. And I did heist and like, yeah, nice, currency, happy, it was good. And I'm starting to delve this league. I'm like, oh, I need some crafting. Yeah, finally I can do delve, because I've been wanting to do delve for a while, but I've never felt really, I was like, just do harvest and it's way more efficient. And that's why I never did delve. This league I'm delving and it feels good. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna use that, what I get from delve. I'm like, yeah, it's not that bad. And as well, that I didn't spec harvest. That was the biggest thing. I was like, I didn't spec harvest at the beginning of the league. I didn't do it, and it was good. Like, it was alright that I didn't spec harvest. I still spec it right now, but my Atlas tree didn't have harvest because, like, since harvest is out, I've been. That was like one of the first things I'm going into, like, every league. Like this league, it was an option not to do it. Like, and just show you the harvest was so overpowered that it was just really not justifiable. It either felt bad or inefficient to just not use harvest, right? Then I also played expedition and I used rogue crafting. Usually I'm like, oh, rogue crafting, just such a pain in the ass, right? Now I'm like, yeah, let's do rogue crafting, right? I explored the game. Game is more balanced. I feel like now there's more balance in the game. That's why I liked it. What else I liked about this league is actually I like the Archnemesis modifiers, and that the monsters are stronger and rarer. I kind of like that because I'm starting to learn. Actually, I'm looking at the modifiers right now, like, because that was one of the biggest complaints of people, like, oh, they implemented Archnemesis, no one cares anyway. Now I care, and I like that. Like, and I look at, when I do Essence, I look at the modifier. Oh, this is this modifier, right? When I find a Pantheon modifier, oh, that's the Pantheon one, right? Let's just spend some time killing it, right? It's not anymore frustrating to, like, the flame exploding guy, right? It's not frustrating to fight him, you know. I'm like excited now. Oh, this guy, okay, it's a little bit challenging, but I'm gonna get a little bit reward, and I like that. I appreciate that, and I think it's really good. And as an average player, for you, if you don't use the maps, you're not playing solo self-out, you should like the game more as well, because you are getting more loot. Like, we looked at the statistics, or the GG would say, you're getting more stuff. Like, you don't need to invest. You go to trade sites and buy scarabs, whatever, and invest in your loot, because if you don't, you're gonna lose a lot of currency. No, you are making more currency now. And This change also means that there's less discrepancy between rich and the poor in the game. There's not anymore like people. There's probably not going to be that many people anymore who have like mirrors in the first weeks of the league, right? There's not going to be someone who like price sets the whole market, maybe, right? There's like they lower the discrepancy, so like you're more on the same level the other people are who choose the content, right? So you should appreciate that as well. And like one of the last things, and also one thing I want to mention is that if you still feel that you're worse off, then just realize that the game is same for everyone. Like if you're worse off, doesn't mean that you're worse off compared to everyone. Everyone is in the same situation as you are, and like the only thing you have to do is just adjust. Like figure out what's the new thing, and I think that's exciting. Figure out what's the new thing, how now we should play the game, right? And like I love the change because I started League, I expect Heist, and I did Heist, like, yeah, I'm gonna Heist, it's probably gonna good, right? I did Heist, it felt good, right? There's just variety, and the game is different, and I appreciate it, and I like that. And let's not forget, the GGG is a company that consists of people, and people make mistakes, they make bad judgments, but like the good thing about GGG is that they take feedback, and they adjust, right? And you don't know what's going on in a company. Like you just look at the game and think everything's bad. Like it's just like a very shallow way of looking at things, right? Because developing games is probably not just like, oh, this idea, yeah, magic, everything happens, right? It's a process. Like people have to work on something. They have to generate ideas and then work on them and change them. It's an all changing process, and it's not that easy to make everything perfect and test everything, and they don't have enough time. And I'm kind of sad about the community that they were so like disappointed very on the negativity from the community this league, to be honest, because there was like zero understanding or like interest in GGG. I'm honestly ashamed of like the communication that was going on from like the community and the players and everyone, right? And honestly, I had to turn it all off, and it was really sad. Like, but you know, at the end of the day, I still had fun. I hope you also had fun, and I hope you also gonna continue having fun this league and hopefully the next one. That's it for me. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.